football preview. Brighton hosting Manchester United. Waiting for the Seagulls. Guarantees some European football, but can they do it? They've won their last 3 in a row at the Amex Stadium, but they've never won 4 in a row in top flight history. They've done 3 in a row 6 times, but they've never gone 4 in a row. And should they do it, they'll guarantee European football of some form and description next season. Coming up against the Man United side, who have won 4 and drawn 1 of their last 5, but they've also just won 3 of their last 10 away games, losing just 2 in that run as well. Here's how it works. Currently, the top 5 is Champions League football. 6th and 7th are Europa League. 8th is Conference League. 7th and 8th will not change no matter what. However, there's a curveball. Because Aston Villa won the Europa League, if Aston Villa finish 5th, 6th place will go into the Champions League. Now, if that happens, nothing happens to the Europa League spot. It just gets upgraded. So should Villa finish 5th, top 6 will be Champions League, 7th Europa League and 8th Conference League. Hopefully that makes sense. But what it does mean is that Bournemouth and Brighton have a chance at Champions League football this weekend, but they need Liverpool and Manchester City both to do them a favour. That's how it works. As for this game, Brighton were a bit unlucky to lose last week. I'm not sure they had enough cutting edge in order to get all 3 points. I was a bit disappointed by how poor Brighton were with what was at stake for them. But they certainly didn't deserve to lose. Coming up against the Man United side, all is done. They're finishing 3rd. Happy days. Michael Carrick's got his job, we expect. But can Bruno Fernandes make the record his own? He equalled it last week, getting that assist. He's equalled Thierry Henry and Kevin De Bruyne on 20 assists for the season. Can he go one further and get an assist at the Amex at the weekend? I think he might. I think we're going to see goals. I think we're going to see entertainment. And I think we're going to see Brighton make history. My prediction, Brighton 3, Manchester United 2. Off to Burnley as it's the bottom place playoff as they face Wolves, who have been bottom since the 31st of August. These 2 teams have been absolutely stinking all season. Burnley, 1 win in 28. However, they were unlucky against Arsenal. I thought they gave Arsenal a really good game. Got the point the previous week against Aston Villa. So under Michael Jackson, it's been quite good for Burnley thus far. Coming up against, they are on winless in 14 at Turf Moor, though. Coming up against the Wolves side, who have not won away from home in the Premier League this season, losing 13. Only 2 teams in the top 5 European leagues have not won an away game in the league. This is a game that no one wants, no one cares about, and no one's looking forward to. And I include, and especially include, Burnley and Wolves fans. I'm going to say 1-1, but who cares? Nobody cares about this one. But don't let that put you off getting involved. Please give me your predictions in the description below. There's a list of all 10 fixtures this weekend. Copy, paste, give me your score predictions. And at some point next week, I will be doing a shout out for the winner. And I've just realised I have not checked last week's predictions. So I will do that later on today. And I will do a double winner next week. My apologies. Don't let that put you off. Don't let my bad singing put you off, though. Make sure you subscribe to Tartan Geo. Right, Crystal Palace hosting Arsenal. It's the European finalists coming up against each other. A game that neither of these teams want to play. Job done. Crystal Palace, no win in their last 6. However, they've not lost at home in the league since February. Winning 2 and drawing 3. Coming up against an Arsenal side who have won their last 4 without conceding. But it's job done for them. Crystal Palace have got the Conference League final Wednesday. Arsenal got the Champions League final next Saturday. Are they arsed about this game? Not really. You can make an argument that you want a little bit of momentum going into the finals and stuff like that, but I think the priority is to avoid players getting injured. The good thing here for both teams is that the other team will be thinking the same. So in a weird way, they could both field their strongest 11 and not worry about risk of injuries, because surely there will be a mutual understanding between everyone on that pitch. Let's just treat it like a pre-season friendly. No tackles, no stupid fouls, nothing. I think this is going to be a really boring game, but I think it'll be 2 sets of fans celebrating and partying. Obviously, Crystal Palace haven't won the Conference League yet, but the buzz must be quite high. They're off I don't know where the final is. They're off to the final on Wednesday night. Arsenal got the Champions League. They've won the Premier League already. I'll go 1-1. I don't know. I don't really feel that strongly about it, to be honest with you. Fulham hosting Newcastle. Another game that no one cares about. There are some games people care about, I promise you. I just do it in alphabetical order. Unfortunately, they're at the end. But Fulham hosting Newcastle. Fulham, 1 win in 6, losing 3 of those games as well. Winning just 1 in the last 8 game of the seasons, losing 6 of those. So when it comes to last game of the seasons, Fulham stink. Recently, Fulham stink. Could be Marco Silva's last game in charge of Fulham. It'd be interesting to see how he reacts at the full-time whistle. You imagine if he knows he's off. I'm surprised it's not been announced one way or another, because you'd think he'd like his farewell. But then again, Pep Guardiola has not announced anything officially, and that's the world's worst kept secret. Fulham, however, 4 of the last 5 games at Craven Cottage have finished 1-0 to either side, coming up against a Newcastle side who have picked up 7 points in the last 3 and can still finish in the top half of the Premier League this season, but that is still disappointing for their pre-season ambitions. Just 2 away wins in 2026 for Newcastle, drawing 2 and losing 4. I thought Newcastle were decent against West Ham last week. Fulham checked out the league a long time ago. I think Newcastle, I don't know what they're playing for, whether it's to just finish in top half, a bit of personal pride, something, I don't know. They've tapped into something in the last few weeks anyway, because 7 points from 3 is a good return, and I think they'll win again. I'm going to say Fulham 0, Newcastle United 2. Liverpool hosting Brentford, and this game is going to be overshadowed, and rightly so, overshadowed by the departures of Mo Salah and Andy Robertson as they say farewell to Anfield. They've lost 20 times this season, Liverpool, which is the 5th time in their history. And they picked up just 1 point from the last 3. Brentford, 1 win in the last 10. They had European football. It was in their hands. It's been in their hands for weeks. Weeks. And Chelsea overtook them during the week. So European football is no longer in Brentford's hands. And 1 win in 9 league games, it's your own fault. But they can still get it. They can still get it. They would need a favour elsewhere. But they are winless in the last 5 away games. I think Liverpool, they've been absolutely shocking, haven't they, throughout the season. Even when they went on a decent run, I think they went like 11 without a defeat or something. But it was very unconvincing. I remember sat here week after week saying, I'm not buying this, I'm not buying this. And it took me a while to be proven correct. 11 games, 13 games or whatever it was. But I feel like I've been proven correct. It was unsustainable. It wasn't... They hadn't sorted things out. They were just getting results through individual brilliance at times during games. But I expect Salah and Robertson to start, and I think you might see a bit of a reaction from Liverpool, even if it's to win just for those two. I think it'll be a good atmosphere because they're leaving. If them two weren't leaving, I think it would be quite miserable at Anfield on Sunday. But I think Liverpool fans, they're a good fan base. I think they'll just say, forget this season. Today is about Salah and it's about Robertson and thanking them for what they've done. As for Brentford, it's going to be difficult. Even though Fulham are out of form, they're going to have to go to Anfield. Liverpool are out of form. They're going to have to go there and get 3 points and hope something happens for them. I can't see it. They've not been great recently. They struggled to draw against the Crystal Palace side who couldn't really be arsed last week. So I'm going to say Liverpool 2, Brentford 2. Manchester City hosting Aston Villa. You would expect that this is the goodbye for Pep Guardiola. I'd imagine it might get officially announced today or tomorrow ahead of that game. Man City, though, Bernardo Silva and John Stones is their goodbye as well, possibly for Pep too. Unbeaten in the last 15 league games. So they are in form. Man City have been in form recently. And it's just a pity they didn't win against Bournemouth to take the title race to the last day of the season. I think that would be the most disappointing thing. They couldn't take it to the wire and put the pressure on Arsenal at Selhurst Park. Aston Villa winless in their last 6 away games, but I don't think they'll care. They've got Champions League football next season. They've won the Europa League. I think on Wednesday night, they were brilliant. Freiburg were crap, but they were really, really good, Aston Villa. Individually, fantastic goals. Austin McPhee earning his salary with that set-piece goal as well. I think the season finished. I think Villa's season finished when that final whistle went in Istanbul. I remember where that European final was. That was it. Job done. We've done our bit. We've got Champions League football, won the Europa League. We move on to next season. And I think we might see some heavy rotation from Emery in this game. And I think it's going to finish Manchester City 3, Aston Villa 1. Nottingham Forest host Bournemouth at the City Ground. Forest without a win in 3, drawing one of those games, but they were a little bit unlucky against Manchester United with that dodgy penalty and a 5-goal spectacle for the neutrals to watch as well. Just 4 league wins at home all season for Nottingham Forest, coming up against the Bournemouth side, unbeaten in 17 games, and they need Liverpool to win and Villa to lose, and they need to win, and then they'll get Champions League football. So Bournemouth can get Champions League football. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. But as long as they win, if the other things don't happen, they'll still get Europa League football next season, which is, I think, a huge achievement for that football club. Nottingham Forest haven't beaten Bournemouth in the Premier League ever, coming up against each other 7 times, and 3 draws and 4 wins for Bournemouth, and I think it's going to be 5 wins for Bournemouth after Sunday. I think Forest, they've got the job done but been unlucky. There's been a lot of turmoil at the City Ground this season. And Pereira's gone in and he had to steady a slightly steadier ship that Dyche left him, and he's done that. They did well in European football until the second leg of the semi-final when they just didn't turn up at all. But they're safe with a handful of games to go. That's the main thing. They can start looking ahead to next season now. This game, I think if it was away from home, I think it'd be easier for Forest to say, let's just bin this one off, don't worry about it. Because it's at home, there's a little bit of responsibility to put on a performance and try and get 3 points for your fans. Like I said, they've seen 4 Premier League games at home all season, Nottingham Forest fans, but Bournemouth are just a different beast at the minute. They'll be gutted they conceded a last-minute goal to Manchester City, but I think they'll also be confident that they drew that game. 17 unbeaten, not to be sniffed at. I'm going to say Nottingham Forest 0, Bournemouth 2, and that, if my predictions are right, would give Bournemouth Champions League football. Sunderland host Chelsea, a bit of a European playoff at the Stadium of Light. Sunderland would need Brentford to drop points at Anfield if they win. But Sunderland can get European football, as can Chelsea. It's in Chelsea's hands. They're sitting in 8th place at the minute. Sunderland, 5 points from the last 3 have given them a chance of European football, but they've only won once in the last 16 season-ending Premier League games, losing 12 of them. Chelsea win equals European football, but it's 4 without a win away from Stamford Bridge, losing 3 of those games. A good 3 points to put on the board against Spurs, but I don't think Chelsea were fantastic. They were okay. They were all right against Spurs, but I don't think they were unbelievable or anything like that. A few injury doubts for them as well going into this game. And I fancy Sunderland to do it, you know. The Stadium of Light has been a very difficult place to go, and I think because they were fantastic, 12, 13 unbeaten, and then they went a few games where they were getting beat and struggling to pick up points at home. But I think if you were to pick up those games that they didn't win and place them in between, so they win 2, lose 1, win 2, draw 1, win 2, lose 1, you get what I'm saying. I think you'd look at it and be like, wow, the Stadium of Light's a really difficult place to go. I think it's just because it was unbeaten for such a large period in a poor bit of form. I think it whiffs it a little bit, and there's a little bit of recency bias when looking at it. But I think the Stadium of Light will be rocking. They've had, no matter what happens on Sunday, they've had a very, very successful season. But if Sunderland get European football, Lebrie's got to be manager of the season, in my opinion. And it's maybe harsh saying it's got to be European football. I haven't really considered it that much. I'll do videos next week about ranking each team's season, every manager, so on and so forth. And maybe when I think about it, I still might think Lebrie's the manager of the season. But I wouldn't have to think about it. They've got European football. And I think they might. I'm going to say Sunderland 2, Chelsea 1. And again, if my other predictions are correct, that would put Sunderland 8th in the Premier League. Spurs hosting Everton. Here's the tasty 2, isn't it? Spurs host Everton. Spurs on their second longest winless run at home in top flight history. Drawing 4, losing 6. And they failed to win the last 7 at home to teams in the bottom half of the Premier League going into that weekend, drawing 2 and losing 5. Everton, no win in 6, drawing 3, losing 3, and it's their worst run in 3 years. Everton have finished the season 9 times in London and lost on 6 occasions, winning just 1. A few weeks ago, I was pleased about this fixture as a West Ham fan. I was thinking, yeah, Spurs ain't winning that. No chance, because Everton were good a few weeks ago. Everton had a chance of European football. And that Merseyside derby, I think, is what's killed it for Everton. It's just sucked everything, all momentum out. They then had a bit of an opportunity, which was a bit of a surprise, winning against Manchester City, then conceding a last-minute goal. It's one of them moments that had Doku not scored, maybe Everton would obviously have a couple of extra points on board, but it might have approached the last couple of weeks differently as well. Maybe they'd have a chance of European football going into this weekend, but they don't. They're winless in 6. So as a result, my feeling around this game has changed drastically. So a few weeks ago, I was quite pleased. I was thinking, yeah, good luck against Everton with something to play for in the last game of the season. They've got nothing to play for. For Spurs, a point sees them retain their Premier League status next season. They need a point to survive. And I just wish it was a more difficult fixture for them. I think had they been playing Bournemouth, for example, I'd be thinking, oh, yes, we'll have a bit of this. Because I need Spurs to lose. I need Spurs to get beat. I'm not sure they will. I think they'll... It's not that I'm worried that Spurs are good. I'm worried that Everton aren't good. I'm going to say Spurs 1, Everton 1. And on to my team who host Leeds United. We need a win and we need Everton to win in order to stay up. But it's 3 defeats in a row for West Ham now. They've lost 1 of 7 at home, winning 3. All 5 home wins this season have come against teams 9th and below in the Premier League. And we take on Leeds United, who are 8 unbeaten, winning 4 and drawing 4. Only Arsenal have conceded less goals in that period as well. Leeds United away from home, though, haven't been great. Just 2 clean sheets on the road and just 2 wins on the road as well, drawing 9 and losing 7. If we were playing Leeds a couple of weeks ago, or if Leeds had something to play for at this stage, or if Leeds had their full-strength team, I'd be worried about this fixture. But we're not playing them a few weeks ago. They don't have anything to play for. They're trying to play for a points tally. They're trying to get to 50 points, which would be incredible for them in first season back in the Premier League. And they don't have their full-strength squad. They've got a lot of injuries, little to play for. And I do think sometimes when you're in a situation like Leeds, I do think your last home game of the season, last week, I think that's when it feels like season's finished for Leeds United. They beat Brighton with a bit of a smashing grab, put points on the board, unexpected points on the board. Happy days, fantastic season. Thank you for what you've done. See you next year. And it feels like it comes to a conclusion. They've had their player awards during the week as well, and they've been out on the town celebrating their season, and so they should. So I think we can win this game. I think we can absolutely win. Nuno's got to get everything right, which I don't have too much trust in right now. But if we can't beat Leeds, we deserve to go down. The heartache that could be here is that we win and Spurs draw, so we go down a goal difference. And that's a stingy way of getting relegated. To go down a goal difference is not nice. I'd rather go down via the points tally. To go down because we've scored less or conceded more than someone else. I'm not complaining, by the way. I think goal difference is a good way of separating teams on points difference. I just think it's a harsh way to fail. A bit like Fergie. Fergie always used to say to his team, do not lose the title on goal difference. Then they did, but I always understood why that was his thing. Do not lose the title on goal difference. I always understood why he had that mentality. I'm going to say West Ham 2, Leeds 1, which would be a nice win, but ultimately gets us relegated should my predictions at Spurs be true. But thank you very much for joining me this season. It's been an absolute pleasure. Hitting 10,000 subscribers has been fantastic. I'm going to do a soppy video in a couple of weeks, but thank you. Before you go, if you don't mind, please do drop a like on the video by clicking thumbs up, subscribing to Tartan. Get your predictions in down below, and I'll catch you in a bit.